CritCast. It's been a few weeks since I recorded a video. I'd been hoping to get into a bit more of a weekly schedule, but you know how things happen and time kind of gets away from you, and I just haven't. Hopefully I will be able to get into that routine, so I can give you some more thoughts and stuff in this video format, which is still pretty new to me, and I don't know if you like these things or not, but I think they're kind of fun. It's different. We'll keep doing them as long as people seem to kind of like them, and as long as I keep wanting to do them. Anyway, one of the movies I've seen recently, a couple weeks ago, I saw the sequel to Piranha 3D, cleverly titled Piranha 3 Double D. It was given a rather small release, I believe, with something like 75 or 85, 86 theaters. Not exactly a wide release film, but if you see it, you'll understand why it didn't get that much of a wide release. Now, don't get me wrong, don't read too much into that. I thought the movie was an absolute blast, but I can't really call it a good movie. It's a movie that is just, how do I say, it's filled with, let's say, the WTF moments. It is, you can't really think too hard. It's kind of a throwback to the 80s, boobs and blood and gore kind of movies. It's really funny. It's really outrageous. It's not as good a movie as the first one. Now, probably that's even might be a little debatable. The first one I thought was just fantastic. That bloodbath at the Lake Victoria beach is just absolutely amazing, and I thought that was actually a really fun movie. This one is just a more of kind of like a, did I see what I just think I saw? It's set in a water park. Piranha get into the water park that has had its lifeguards replaced with water certified strippers. You have David Ketchner. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name exactly. I think that's right. Playing this slimy, scummy water park owner. Danielle Panabaker plays his daughter, trying to get him to do the right thing and try to keep the piranha out of there. And Christopher Lloyd is back in full over the top Doc Brown mode. It's really a crazy movie. It's the kind of movie you want to see with people who like to talk at the screen. Now, normally I'm really against this, but in this movie it actually kind of worked. There's a bunch of people at the theater who were actually really pretty funny and helped enhance the situation. So it's that kind of a movie. If you like these cheesy B campy movies, it's definitely one you're going to want to check out. After that, the next day I went to see Snow White and the Huntsman, a movie I'd actually been kind of looking forward to, except for the fact that Kristen Stewart was in it, who, I've never really wanted to write her off as an actress, because there were a couple of movies that I've seen that I liked her in, like The Runaways and Adventureland, and even you can go back to Panic Room. I always wanted to blame her rather lackluster performances on those terrible Twilight movies and their terrible scripts. But I'm starting to think that might not be the case. She just might not be a very good actress, because in this movie she is a charismatic black hole. If you've seen me in person recently, I've kind of described her acting style as her presence as being kind of like a stump. Maybe she'll change. Maybe something will happen and she'll become a better actress. But there's no enthusiasm. There's no interest. I felt no reason to care about her. However, the movie isn't a complete loss. Besides her and the fact that it is a bit too long, and you could cut some big chunks out of it and not miss anything, Charlize Theron is fantastic. She takes Ravenna, the evil queen, and just takes that role and just runs with it. She chews the scenery like there's no tomorrow. She just takes everything over the top. She is a lot of fun. She's a blast in this movie. Even Chris Hemsworth is pretty good. There really haven't been that many movies to really test his acting chops yet. But this one gave him a chance to be the action guy, to be the drunken comedy guy, as well as have a pretty big emotional scene later in the movie, which were all pretty convincing. Granted, it was kind of chopped up. It's like you get him in those three phases. You don't really get those things together as one character. But I think he showed some ability there, and could be worthy to keep an eye on him later going on into his career. Now, moving on to more recently, I did see a Bollywood film called Rowdy RATHORE. I believe that's how you pronounce that, RATHORE, which I found out is a Indian remake of a Southern Indian film, which was just translated from a different language. And I have to say, it was kind of fun. I mean, I had a little trouble following the plot. It didn't make a lot of sense at times, but there was some well-staged action in it. There were some really big, broad comedy scenes, and also always the music. I don't know if any of you have had much experience with Bollywood films, but they have these big musical numbers in them, which it's unlike anything you see in Hollywood. And if you like that sort of thing, they're definitely worth checking out, especially if you have a chance to see one on the big screen. And I know Regal Theaters have been doing them of late. They've run this one and Don 2, Tez, Raw 1, Houseful 2. They usually get a couple weeks run, and they're definitely worth checking out if you get a chance, if they play in a Regal in your area or any other one. Definitely worth checking out to see movies from different cultures. Moving on to this week, last night I went and I saw Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted, and really, I'm not really sure why I went to see it, because I'm not the biggest fan of this series, and I really had no intention of seeing this one, but I found myself at the theater and I saw it, and it's, for the most part, it's a pretty forgettable movie. Kids like it. It's big, it's loud, it's colorful, there's always something going on the screen. But after the first act is kind of fun. There's some very trippy, crazy stuff as the trio, the hippo, the lion, the giraffe, and the zebra, all head off from Africa to chase the penguins down into France to get them, because they want to go home to the New York Zoo. They actually do a bunch of like spy type stuff, James Bond kind of inspired bits, and they actually do them better than they did in Cars 2 last year, which I didn't really care for. But once they get out of that and they hook up with the circus, I'm sure if you've seen the trailer, they find themselves teaming up with the circus as their way home. It settles into that story. It kind of loses steam, and I just didn't really care for much after that point. It's, for the kids, it's worth seeing, but otherwise, I'm more interested in seeing Brave in a couple of weeks than the new Pixar film, because I think that looks really good. Now, that leads me to the biggest movie of the weekend, and possibly my most highly anticipated movie of the year, and that's Ridley Scott's Prometheus, which I don't know if you've been reading about this online at all, but there has been a lot of talk about it, a lot of buzz, a lot of people hating on it, a lot of people, being sort of, somewhere halfway on it, some people loving it, and, after thinking about it, I come down on the side that I really love this movie. There's some really good music, some really good performances. It's just absolutely gorgeous to look at. And while it does seem to be a movie that's more about asking questions than answering anything, I think it kind of speaks to that nature of humanity where we are always we are questioning things. We don't always get the answers, or we don't always get the answers we want. But there's always that quest for knowledge, for learning something, finding something new. And this movie really plays into ideas of religion and faith and science, and where do we come from, where do we go, and all while being a sort of tie-in to the Alien universe. Not just Aliens, but Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, those films. This plays sort of like a prequel to that series, although there might be a few inconsistencies that might make it more worthwhile to think of it as a reboot rather than a prequel. Although you could probably make it fit. It's really interesting to see the tie-ins together, to see how they fit together, and besides that, just the idea of the story of sending out into space and trying to find where we came from and get answers to those big questions that we've always been asking, what's the meaning of life, or whatnot. Maybe it's a bit too lofty for the movie to really sink its teeth into, considering that it's a 2-hour runtime, and you still have some big action scenes, some horror-based scenes, some little bit of character development. So perhaps the questions might be a bit too lofty for it, but at the same time, it's a movie that kind of that pushes to those boundaries, that makes you want to ask those questions while still being entertained. So it's a movie that I really do recommend. It's got some really good performances from Michael Fassbender and Noomi Rapace, who you've probably seen in the recent Sherlock Holmes sequel, as well as the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo trilogy. Idris Elba is in it. He has a good small role in it. Charlize Theron is also in it. You know, it's really got a really solid cast. It looks great. Ridley Scott is probably one of the better movies that he's made in recent years, and it's definitely a movie that I think will be rewarded with multiple viewings, and hopefully even rewarded more with a sequel or two to help flesh out this story even further, which was written by, I believe, it was Damon Lindelof and Jason Spates, I believe it was the co-writer on the film. In any case, it's definitely one I think I want to see again in theaters. It looks great. It's acted well. You know, it's a movie that it's going to give you a reaction. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. It's that kind of a movie. You know, try not to let the hype seep in, because, you know, as much as I can buy into, as much as I like some hype, I think it has a big chance of like ruining films. Like I don't know if Dark Knight Rises is going to be able to live up to hype that's going to get built up around it. But it's sort of the same thing here. You know, a lot of people are going to be let down and start nitpicking things to death. This is a movie. This is a big movie with big ideas, and I think it should be seen on that scale. I think it should be rewarded for that and respected for that and enjoyed for that. You know, if you don't, you don't. You know, it's you know, not every movie's going to be for everybody, but you know, this is one that I really liked, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it again. And I think you should all give it a chance. It's really a pretty beautiful movie. But that's really about it. Not much else going on here. To give a shout out to my Mets, you know, Johan Santana with the first no-hitter in franchise history from a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you've been following my YouTube channel, you see that I recently got a couple of new tattoos. Hoping to add more to that. Got my first real movie themed one with the Millennium Falcon on the back of my calf. I'm hoping to add some more, you know, Star Wars and science fiction stuff to that leg. But in any case, be sure to visit me over at critical.cast.com for some more full-length reviews and other ramblings. And until next time, we'll see you later.